Core Stories, Ordinary Marines, Extraordinary Lives.
Hey everybody, I have an amazing show for you this time. I have had the great pleasure and honor to interview Fahim Fazli and Marine Lieutenant Colonel Michael Moffett, who were in Afghanistan, and Fahim was his Afghan interpreter. And we talk about this incredible new television series, The United States of Al. Let's just get to it. Thanks.
Okay, so this is working right now?
It is working right now.
Well, you look great, Meriwether, and you sound good, and Fahim looks good. I called him to make sure he was up because it's early out there in California, but he was up, so.
Do you know what I tell him? You're teaching our fish how to swim.
Oh, really? Is that right? So what time
Yes.
did you get up, Fahim?
6.
Mike, you didn't know that about him, that he's an early bird, did you?
He's not only is he early, if he's on time, he's late. He's like, it's a Marine thing that he picked up. Always on time, always early, always early.
He was
Oh,
early for
good.
the podcast. He joined the meeting quite early, so that's wonderful.
By the way, they gave me the 68 whiskey in my chair back.
I love you in that
See?
role.
They gave it to me. They said, Fahim, the show didn't go second season. You can have.
I love you. I love you in that role. I wish they had put subtitles though.
I know they didn't. Why they didn't do it?
I don't know, but it was such a great role. Such a great role for
Yeah.
you. Mike, how are you doing?
I'm very good. I'm very happy to be back in the legislature, and I've got some bills that are going to the governor's office for signature, so I'm very pleased about that.
So just let's do a little background on each of you and how we came to know each other. Okay.
Are
So
we going to start it right now?
yeah, let's, it's sort of a soft start with my podcast, but basically Stories Innovators is a podcast where I talk about Marines, people in the Marine Corps community who are solving a new problem, an old problem a new way, which is an innovation. And I have to say that I'm terribly honored to have you two here because we're talking about the business of Marine interpreters, Marine and Afghan interpreters. And I think this television series, United States of Al, is solving or attempting to solve the problem of these Afghan interpreters being left behind by bringing it into the public discourse, which is solving the problem a new way. And I have the great good fortune of knowing you both from many years ago when I interviewed you both for the book that you two wrote. So if you two would talk perhaps about your background, how you came to know each other, and that would be great. So listen, let me start with, everybody knows Fahim because he's kind of a household name. So let's start with Mike.
Well, thanks, Meriwether, and it's great to see you again. You look wonderful, and thanks for all you do to raise awareness about the military and the Marine Corps. Yeah, so real quick, my background, I am from New Hampshire. I'm in New Hampshire now, but when I was in the Marines, I was everywhere from Korea to Norway to Panama to Kuwait to Afghanistan. So anyway, 2010, I was getting ready to retire, and I went to Afghanistan. Oh, by the way, my civilian gig was teaching, or is teaching. I was a college professor. I still teach online. And I write, I do a column. You can find stuff if you Google it. And I'm currently a member of the New Hampshire House of Representatives. Very happy to be in that historic body. And yeah, so I write, and I was with History Division on a special assignment for Marine Corps History Division 2010. Went to Helmand Province in Afghanistan. It was a great job. As a lieutenant colonel, I could pick my spots, get on a helicopter and go to a combat outpost or forward operating base and get with the troops right out at near the tip of the spear, so to speak, and talk to them, interview them, and gather some documents, and mostly let them talk to me. We'd record their interviews coming in off patrol or whatever, everybody from private to general. And these interviews are available at History Division at Marine Corps University. So anyway, I guess it was March of 2010. I got on a helicopter. We flew at night for security purposes. Went into Delaram up in northern Helmand Province, near where Helmand Province is desert, except up towards the north where the mountains start. That's where 3rd Battalion, 4th Marines 3-4 was, where Fahim was. So I was there and I met him at Delaram. He was doing some interpreting for the district sub-governor at a tent, very humble little banquet with the battalion commander. And I happened to sit near him, and I heard that he was an actor, which got my attention. Later found out he's done all these Hollywood projects and TV shows and movies and commercials and on and voiceovers. So anyway, we talked, found out we have much in common, the same birthday, Memorial Day, May 30th, and some family similarities. So we talked and exchanged business cards, stayed in touch in Afghanistan at Delaram and then at Camp Leatherneck, and we came back to America, stayed in touch. He had said he was talking into a little voice recorder because he wanted to do a book or his story. And I said, well, I might be able to help. I have done some writing and books and so on. So we stayed in touch, started an outline. I connected Fahim with Dale Dye, who I'm sure you know, top Marine advisor, actor in Hollywood, who also has a publishing company. Looked at our story and we did a book. I'll let Fahim talk in just a moment. Dr. Julia Dye, Dale Dye's wife, was an editor, and she was tough. She's very tough. We've worked on this for a year. She's a good editor. And so Fahim Speaks, a warrior actor's odyssey from Afghanistan to Hollywood and back, won the gold medal, critical acclaim, gold medal for top biography from the Military Writers Society of America. Very proud of that book. It's still available on Amazon, plug. So that's my quick background, and meeting Fahim he's been here to New Hampshire. We've climbed mountains, Mount Washington. We've kayaked. They don't have many trees or that much water where he's used to living. So it was great for him to come east. And then he's taken me to Hollywood. In fact, he introduced me to a woman in Dana Point years and years ago who I'm happily married to. So I owe Fahim that too. So there, I'll stop talking and let Fahim Speaks. That's the name of the book. He speaks many languages. It's amazing. And so I'll let you and Fahim say some things here.
Fahim, now this is Michael's recollection of your meeting. What is your recollection of your meeting?
First of all, I want to thank you guys. Thank you for inviting us to your show the second time after 10 years, maybe.
Yeah, I can't believe
2012, we had a great interview. Still have the clip. Thank you for inviting us. Thank you for caring about military and translators, what we did in Afghanistan. Myself, I was born in 1966 in Afghanistan. 1979, when the Russian invaded Afghanistan, I was 12 years old. My mom and dad talked to each other, and one morning, all of a sudden, my mom, 2 sisters and brother escaped Afghanistan without me, without my brother, and we stayed behind with my father. My father held us because we thought we're going to defeat the communists next 2 years or next years, and took them 10 years to defeat them. Then after 5 years later, my dad made a decision to escape Afghanistan. Me and my brother, him, went to Pakistan as a refugee, 7 days, 7 nights, walking in the mountain, all these Hindu Kush mountains. And we came to America in 1985 and made a decision, go back to the story, how Michael and I met. And 9/11 happened 2009, 2001, and a wait for a while was this situation is going on because I have the knowledge of speaking all these languages.
Yes.
And 2009, I made a decision to go help this country. This country gave me a lot, and my birth country gave me a birth and the best mom and dad and the best family. And I made a decision. I want to pay back for this country because a lot of Americans, they're respect with respect. They don't know the value of this country. They take it for granted. And I want to do it. I want to pay back. And just I got my clearance in Washington as a DoD Department of Defense. And they branched me with Army, Fort Benning, Georgia. And later on, one of the officers says, who wants to go with the Marine? And I was the two guys raised my arms to want to go with Marine, and they all guys laugh at me, say, "Hey, you're gonna get killed. You're gonna go to you're going the toughest place in Afghanistan. The Marines, they're fighters. This." I'm saying, yeah, I'm not an office person. I want to go fight and defend this country. Then they branched me with 29 Palm with 340 India Company and Captain Benson. Now he's a Major Benson in Quantico. Staff Sergeant Cook, and later on ended up to meet the perfect, my brother. I call him brother, Michael Moffett. He's always going to be my brother. I never forget that one of Staff Sergeant Roberto has told me, once you go with the Marine, once you become a family, they always keep you as a family. But it's hard to get in the family. But now I'm part of the family. And been the table, we were in Afghanistan, northern Helmand province. And I did translate for him in front of the table, back and forth after the meeting, and stand up, go get some chawal. And this angel coming out of nowhere. And this guy made my dream come true, complete my book, my story, and got fame because of him. The ABC News was there, all over the news, breaking news, because Afghan American went to Afghanistan, helped the Marines. And I want to thank him from the bottom of my heart. He is my brother. You're always going to be my brother. Marines always be my brother. I'm still attached with all my friends in Quantico, 29 Palm, all these Marines. We talk to each other. And most of my friends on Facebook, they're all Marines, not actors.
I love that. That is, it really is how it is. I was in the Navy, but I have, been called to write about Marines, and I have found that the Marines I have written about, I've become quite attached to. And like you say, once you have that attachment, years and years go by without in person, but when I see them in person, it's like no time. It's not unlike what's happening right here today. Yeah. I haven't seen either one of you like in person, but we've stayed in touch through social media and so on over the years. And I feel like I pretty well know what's going on, both your stories.
Thank you for your service as well. I work with Navies. They're the calmest, sweetest people work with us. We always get shot. We always get shot or shot at. We call you guys, come on, help us.
I have to say that of all the years that I have been writing about Marines, over 20 years now, 23 years. Core Story's been live 19 years now. I don't really ever get really nervous. I don't get nervous asking important people to come talk to me. I don't really get nervous thinking about talking to important people. And I've come to know some kind of big dogs, if you will. But I was nervous to ask you both to come talk to me. It took me a couple of days to work up my nerve to say, look, I need you guys to come talk to me, because what we're going to talk about is really important stuff. The thing is that there's this new TV show, United States of Al. And when I saw the news release of the press release of the show back in the fall, I thought it was a joke. I did. I couldn't believe that it was a real thing. And then when it said, and then it was being produced by the people who produced the longest running television show of all time. Right. Okay, Big Bang Theory. I thought, this is real. These people are really trying to have a conversation about something I know a little something about. And so I was very moved by the prospect of it. Okay, so then all my misgivings. How are they ever going to find someone to play a Marine? Let's be real here. Actors, even great actors, who take on a role of a Marine, the criticism, it's a very tough role in society, the criticism, especially when it's this day, present day, because there are so many Marines. So I thought, boy, man, that's a tough one. And then you're talking about a topic that is a very difficult topic. You're talking about war, and you're talking about people we've promised a very simple something to, citizenship, who have put their lives on the line, who gave it up front, who paid up front, if you will.
Yeah.
And they're not getting their pay. They're
No.
not getting their citizenship delivered. And so here is this, the credentials of this, those who brought this show to the table are unmatched. And here they are asking to have a conversation about something so challenging. And it blew my mind. It blew my mind. And then it started to really resonate with me when I started to learn the details. So now the Marine is set in Ohio. Okay, so we all know about Marines from Ohio. We're talking about the Marine unit with the greatest losses in this war. That the show is all about this war, this past war, and the greatest losses came from Ohio. So, I mean, they did their research. They did so much research for this show. So this is not like a commercial effort in my mind.
No.
This is a legitimate social effort.
Yep.
And it mattered to me. And the more I know, the more real it becomes. So the storyline, the trajectory of the plot, the casting. I mean, the casting, I have to say that this Parker Young as the Marine has done a surprisingly good job. The
Yeah,
father, this Dean Norris. So these are my thoughts. This is why I wanted to have a discussion with you two, who are the real deal. You two are the real Marine and Afghan Marine interpreter. And I need to throw it to you two, and I need you to talk about everything you think about the series, because I know that you are engaged in it. You love it. You're watching it. You're paying attention. The pros of it, the cons of it, and what do you think that will come of it? What do you think that it's going to change anything? So first I actually want to start with you, Mike. What do you think about that? All that.
Well, you mentioned Ohio, Meriwether, and just a quick aside, the Ohio unit was a reserve unit. And so I'm somewhat familiar with that particular reserve unit because for Desert, I was a reservist with 125, different battalion, but for Desert Storm,
same regiment.
Yep, 25th, yeah. So to harken way back real quick to Desert Storm, we had some Marines from that Ohio unit attached to our battalion, and I had some under my command. And one of them, after we took all these Iraqi prisoners, and then there was a ceasefire, and we had them all in this big area, and this terrible rainstorm came. It was freezing. And one of the Iraqi prisoners was like hypothermic. And so this Ohio Reserve Marine from this unit you mentioned gave up his sleeping bag and gave it to this Iraqi prisoner to try to, help him to not.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's just an example of the humanity that, I mean, these were people that we were trying to kill each other a few days before that. And then, to give up your sleep, if you know anything about when it gets wet and cold, to give up your gear to a prisoner. So anyway, as far as the show goes, I just want to say one or two things, and I'm really interested in Fahim's take on it. The Afghan, it's funny. There's a scene in the show where the Afghan interpreter comes and meets the Marine's father, and the father offers him a beer, and the Marine says, no, it's a cultural thing. But I do want to say that Fahim will have an occasional libation, and I've had many beers with Fahim Fazli over the many years. So that's one difference, is that in the show, I guess Al doesn't drink beer, but Fahim does. So that's one interesting aside, and I'll throw it back to Fahim on that note.
I really enjoyed this show. I did a few auditions for this show, but my character wasn't fitting the age and role. And my agent, Richard Corner, Miranda, both of them, and my manager, they both say, Fahim, they like you because you're a real Afghan and you've been a translator for Marine. You fit in perfect. They try to fit you somewhere in the future, which is I'm waiting. I'm very supportive of this show. And I want to thank them to bring this show to show Afghan culture Afghan. Between like Michael and I, we got together every last 12 years. We've been buddy. Yes, some of those cultures, they're holding back. They don't want to drink in front of others. And Michael and I, we've been to so many bars and not bars, I apologize, restaurants, we have a beer. And him and I, we've been hiking. Him and I cooked at home. We did a lot of good stuff. And regarding about this show, they did a good job. They're hiring Mir, the main character, the Afghan, which is his true story, which is this guy living in Virginia. He's telling his stories. Mir is the main character. He's not Afghan, which is, I don't mind at all. He's from South Africa. More power for him to get the job. And a good friend of mine, Sita, which is she was in a homeland. She played her sister, his sister character, which is, she's very good. I'm very happy. Sitara, congratulations, you got the job. And she's a great actress for the Homeland, the TV show Homeland. Another good friend of mine, Zadran Wali, which is played the owner of the restaurant last night, the episode. He's a great, the other guy, Afghan guy, he played Walid, his cousin, Mir's cousin. Did a great
his
job.
cousin that he's always trying to like one-upsmanship with the cars.
Yeah, it's kind of not creepy, what I call it, flirty, or kind of
fun.
It's kind of fun. But I'm so glad Mir come to America, live with this Marine in the garage, which is this poor Marine. This is totally wrong. If someone paid their dues for this country, they don't deserve to come living in a garage. And one mistake, what they did in this TV show, they should have given him a better room, or one of the sister or father replaced their sleep in the garage. I don't want the father sleep in the garage, but this guy fought for this country. This guy pay his dues for this country. He doesn't deserve to come living in a garage until he stand up by his own feet. The other complaint I have about the government, when the veterans come in, they should provide them apartment, they should provide them house, a salary until they stand up for their own feet, because they fought for this country. They deserve to live comfortable. Now all these Afghan Marines coming from Afghanistan, the government should provide them financially, apartment, all these other stuff. Then other things about government, what they did, the US government, they let Afghan give empty promise for 17,000 translators left behind in Afghanistan, which is this 17,000 Afghan translators fought for this country, fought for both countries. They deserve to come to this country. I mean, look at, we have so many illegal aliens in this country. We have so many free hands in this country to give to wrong people. The Marines come back, they deserve to give them money. The translators, they fought for this country, they deserve to come back in this country. We all immigrant. Your great-grandfather is an immigrant, but to do the right way to come in this country, stay in line, and whoever fought for this country, they deserve to be nominated, and they deserve to be a better shelter for them. And this showed that really United States opened my eyes. This actually is like Michael and I story. Yes, yeah, especially when that guy say when he first arrived in America, never see women with a skirt, see a little skin, legs. I mean, I have in my book that story 12 years ago I wrote it. I'm sure somebody stole our idea.
I think that there may have been a whole lot of that actually, because there's a lot of similarity. But
there's 17,000 Terp. They deserve to come.
They do.
Here.
They do, and you know, so that's the important thing about this conversation we're having today, is that this is the thing. This is the matter, that they're bringing this conversation, your concerns, your points, to the public discourse by story. You know, that we're becoming acquainted with people. So like Fahim, when you're doing movies, nobody knows your backstory very well. But by this television show, they're starting to know your backstory. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now they're thinking, wait a minute, is this what Fahim went through?
I got so many calls after this show. I say, Fahim, you're a story. What's going on? You should have that TV show. You and Mike should have this TV show before they release it, which is, I'm very happy with this TV show. I'm nothing to do with being jealousy or not, but we wrote this book, Fahim Speaks, 12 years ago, and everything on this show you see on this book, Fahim Speaks.
Well, and I mean, I don't know, you know, if they say that imitation is the highest compliment or something like that, but I really do think that if that's in many ways it's a good thing. Regarding, I wanted to discuss this point you made about the Marine sleeping in the garage. And I noticed that as well. But I think that's a point about the Marines state, his disenfranchisement, trying to make a comment about how this Marine has come back. He's separated from his wife. He's got PTSD. He doesn't quite know where he fits. He doesn't quite know where he wants. Remember the episode where he talks about where he doesn't know where he wants to work, and he's on the roof working with his dad, and before his dad. So I mean, I think that it's making a very important point about how many Marines are sort of lost. And I think his sister uses that term actually in one episode. And the sister character, also a lovely, lovely actor, this Elizabeth Alderfer. Yeah. And I love the casting. I really do love the casting of it. I love the casting of this. And that he's separated from his wife. He has this child with the wife. The wife is seeing another man because of the problems between, I mean, it's just so complicated, but it's so real. I can't tell you how many Marines I have met who have come back and they have marital problems with the children, difficulty figuring out where to work, difficulty figuring out if they're able to work, difficulty figuring out where they want to work.
Thank you for bringing that. That's what my point is. Our government should provide these Marines. They fought, not only Marines, Army, Navy, all these people fighting for this country, and they coming back, they're sleeping in a garage. That's not fair. The reason he got divorced, the reason he got PhD, because he fought for this country. Yeah, and he come in this country, and Taco Bell or Burger King don't give him a job because he was in the war. Why we can do something better to provide them and make them stand up their own feet until they know what's going on there. They won't lose their wife. Of course, if they coming home sleeping in the garage, your wife leave you too.
Well, I mean, I guess you're making the point that just because they serve doesn't mean they get benefits, that they have to jump through so many hoops to get benefits here now. And that's ridiculous. You're absolutely right. That's absolutely right.
And we give them money for a stranger. We give up money for not citizen. We're helping other countries. We throw money everywhere, Japan, Germany, Philippines, Afghanistan, all those places. We cannot provide money for our own soldier. That's so wrong. It's so wrong. I'm getting frustrated because all my friends, all my Marines, they're complaining they cannot find a job. They're divorced. Their kids left them. Their brother left them. They did so many damage, these poor guys. I mean, say, Fahim, I'm go sign for a Home Depot. They won't give me a job. What kind of experience you have? Because I was in Afghanistan and Iraq, I'm shooting gun. That kind of experience you have? I mean, they should have provided them. I think the government should more focus for them.
Well, Mike, you're well entrenched in government and well entrenched in Marine Corps leadership. Talk to us about this. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'll just say this about jobs. At the moment here in New Hampshire, our unemployment rate is like nil. So in terms of jobs, come to New Hampshire. But anyway, in terms of support for returning veterans, there are a lot of resources there. But again, to get back to this reserve outfit from Ohio, it's different for reservists in that, 3-4, which was Fahim's battalion he was attached to, was a regular, as you know, regular active duty unit battalion. And so they have, the families are all together typically around the base, as you know, and they have that infrastructure, the social infrastructure. A reserve unit's not the same. The reserve families are all dispersed, really, pretty much. So they don't have the same support network that the active duty guys do. So that's just one point that I would make, that for these reserve folks that get activated units or individuals, it's in some ways a little bit harder in terms of support for them coming back, which is the case with the character in the United States of Al, who, as you pointed out, and we've mentioned several times, was ostensibly a reservist from Ohio. So there are a lot of resources out there. There are a lot of potential support, but again, it's accessing the support and the resources that, and plus a lot of Marines in particular don't want to ask for help. I know you're familiar with that. There's some people who ask for too much help. And then there's some people who should ask for help that don't. And so to identify whether they're family or friends, if you know somebody who came back from a war, just don't press them on stuff, but give them your ear and try to understand them and communicate with them and let them know that you care. And that's half the battle, I think.
What about taking it back to this discussion about the interpreters? So the one episode, there was one episode about where Al is given an award at the American Legion Hall, and he gives a little speech about
Actually, Michael and we did the same thing in Hollywood. You remember, Michael?
Yes, and just not to digress too much, but yes, we did the same thing at the Hollywood American Legion, and we signed books. And Penny Marshall is one of the great names. There's the book. Penny Marshall from Laverne and Shirley, she's a wonderful director and producer. And so her brother was there. And so he asked Fahim to sign a book and say, would you make this out to Penny? So I don't think Fahim made the connection right away. So Fahim typically writes, when he does an autograph of our book, follow your dream, never give up. So after he signed that, I said, Fahim, Penny Marshall kind of has made it in Hollywood. So anyway, yeah, so we've done that American Legion thing as well. But in terms of interpreters, I'll just say that watching what's happening on the southern border with these thousands and thousands and thousands of people coming illegally into the country and getting all this support, putting in hotels and on, incredible amount of money, I think that is being terribly mishandled. It's a little bit different issue, except that when you have people who put our uniform on and put their lives at risk to help us with our missions in Iraq or Afghanistan or wherever, stuck there, well, these other people,
17,000.
That seems like an unbelievably high number, but I'll trust you on that. And not all the 17,000 necessarily want to come here, but some of them are in desperate danger. And so I think we owe it to them if they want to come here, and they've compromised their position, and we've left Afghanistan. And so now that some of these are marked men, they're mostly men. Yeah, Meriwether, it's very troubling to me. And I know people talk about it, shine a light on it, but if we're going to do all this stuff for these illegal immigrants on the southern border, we need to look at these people in Afghanistan and on a case-by-case basis and take care of them.
I apologize. You have to understand, ma'am, we are for the eye and ears from the Marines. Every patrolling we were going, make sure our Marine and not get killed. I did 275 patrolling with my team in Elman Province. Every village I go, I listen, I make sure the Marines not be in that village and get shots. And we put our life more in dangerous because right now they put a price on every translator. I had a price on my head, and Michael knows that. And they deserve, you're right, Michael, we should not give people, the wrong people money. These people fought for this country. And when Americans leave September this year, 2021, guess what? Half of these people, family gonna get killed, they're gonna get tortured. And that time, they already complained, the Americans leave them behind 17,000 Terps, and they're pissed off. Why we helped the American? Why we did it? Okay, we did it for the rights cause. We made money, this, but they promise us, they call it empty promise. They give them an empty promise.
And that's why I think that the show is so valuable, because without this show, we wouldn't even be talking about it publicly. And
Right.
it's just been signed on for a second season, which means to me that the audience is large enough, has been large enough. The public is concerned enough to say, wait a minute. Okay, I guess there's some portion of the population that is concerned about people coming, wants some of these people who come over the border to get some help. But certainly they cannot take precedent over people who put their lives on the line in advance. And see, that's the thing, from my perspective, is that these interpreters paid in advance, and they're a written agreement with our country in the middle of combat, the most hostile circumstances possible. And it's from my perspective, this is short money for the DOD. This is short money for the US government. 17,000 people is a lot of people, but per person, it's not a lot. To get them here, to stamp their citizenship, just not a lot of money. To get them work, they probably could find work, like you're saying, all over I think the state of Virginia's unemployment rate is 1.1% right now. This would be a great time to bring them over because they would be able to find work easily. But I'm saying that to address this now directly and aggressively would be an ideal time. But the fact that a Hollywood enterprise, powerful Hollywood enterprise, has done this, has engaged this, has brought it to the forefront into the public discourse, and done it successfully thus far.
Yeah.
It ticks all my boxes. It brings, that I love it when Marines are talked about in a public way that reveals things that are not normally revealed about Marines. Marines, when I was young, in the 60s, 100 years ago, were thought to be unintelligent and unpredictable. It's the truth. They did not have good reputations. And it was a terrible thing because that was not my personal experience of Marines. And so my calling has been to sort of just one by one after another, reveal that Marines are a very intelligent bunch.
They are.
They're
why I choose to go with.
They're a very hardworking bunch. They're intelligent and they're very self-sacrificing. Now there are exceptions.
This is because Marine. Look at how knowledgeable Michael Moffett is. He wrote this book. If you guys read this book, you will see how smart Marine are.
Okay. But my point is his point. And so this is revealing. So in many points in this book revealed the character of this Marine and how he worked so hard and is sacrificing so much to bring his interpreter over. Right?
Yep.
And even with his own mental illness and his own adversity in life, he did this. And that is the ordinary Marine in my life. That's the ordinary Marine in my experience. That the average Marine does things like that in my experience. And I love that Hollywood is sort of displaying Marines this way.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's the first time the Hollywood show how this Marine come with the PTSD, lost his wife and living in a garage, and bring a translator with him later on. I'm very proud of this show. This show is going to open so many doors for other Marines' eyes and for translator to come in this country, live like a brother. If they were a brother in Afghanistan fighting together the terrorists, they can be a brother in this country like Mike and I. We are brother. We always see each other. We cook, we drink, we have fun. Why they can have it?
I just think what you say is good. You're talking about stereotypes and post-Vietnam, I think a lot of young Marines were brutalized there, war, especially long-term, 13 months in jungles of Vietnam. And of course, it's going to take a toll on a 19-year-old. So there was a lot of damage done in the late 60s, early 70s. And it's not just the Marines, other services too. So it's been a process from that time, 50 years ago, to, counter those stereotypes, which you described so well, and it's such a different landscape now in most ways. I mean, I'm old enough to remember the 70s and how the military was reviled, and that's really mostly turned around. That said, there's still some wonderful messages coming out of this TV show, as you pointed out, and I'm delighted, to see that. And I was delighted to see Fahim in 68 Whiskey. That was an Army show, pretty much
Love
about
him
men.
that. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I kept hoping he'd have bigger roles, because I love Fahim, and Fahim is so funny when he's here in New Hampshire or anywhere. He just cracks people up, and so to humanize the military and the interpreters is important. So I think the show does that. 68 Whiskey was a little different show. Is in it, not every aspect of that show I love, but most of it was entertaining, and it helped just raise awareness that we were in Afghanistan, and that show and this show raises awareness about some of the issues and some of the history that people I think should know more about. Yeah.
Well, 68, let's talk about 68 Whiskey for a second. So I love 68 Whiskey, although it is sort of in war theater.
They gave him my chair. They gave him my chair.
I love it.
And with my name, they gave it to me. I wish the show was keep going, but didn't. But at least I got my chair.
I love that show. I love you in that show. The
Thank
only
you.
problem that I had, and it frustrated me, was that I thought that because the script called for you to speak long sentences or long periods in another language, they should have subtitled you, because it's too long to guess what you were saying. And so we had to sort of deduce it. And so I kind of thought that took away from your role.
Yeah, because people don't understand what I was saying. You're right.
They didn't get it. They didn't get your role right.
Yeah,
And
even the two army guy, the main character, they said, what he says, what he said. And I was all body language. I'm speaking, but nobody understand. You're right.
But you delivered, even with that. I mean, you delivered so much. I just love the cocky and confidence and the humor in you, like Mike was just saying. I mean, you're so right, Mike. Like, you have a humor that kind of comes through in all your roles, I think.
Well, most of Fahim's roles he's fairly typecast as a terrorist, and the terrorists really aren't that necessarily that funny. But maybe before we finish, if Fahim wanted to just give a quick rundown of some of the projects that he's done. He had a wonderful role with Bill Murray and Bruce Willis. Rock the Casbah. That was a fairly substantial. Yeah. I mean, Rock the Casbah, he was advisor for Charlie Wilson's War, worked with Tom Hanks and Julia Roberts, Philip Seymour Hoffman on that one. Early on, he was in Iron Man. He pushed around Robert Downey Jr. But anyway, I'm sure, not that Fahim was the major character in all these TV shows. He played Saddam Hussein on some Spike TV thing. That's what everybody's dream is, to play Saddam Hussein. But anyway, Fahim, tell us some of the other projects you've been on.
I've been at the TV show Brink with Jack Black. I've been with NCIA's, a bunch of other ones. But now, lately, I'm playing a good guy, which is now they label me as a character actor, which is I play father now, tribe leader, warlord, and I used to be very tough and rough terrorist. Lately, they changed my character because my agent, my manager, they tried to push me with more clean or funny roles. Like with Rock the Casbah, I was a father, very sensitive father I was. And I'm happy. I'm very happy with my career. I'm happy with my Marines. I'm happy with my life. I live in the most beautiful country in the world.
Wonderful. I thank you both so much for coming on that podcast. As I say, it took a little nerve for me to ask y'all to come on. And I'm really grateful for both of you. I'm really sorry, Mike, about your video. I don't know what's going on with the internet there in New Hampshire, but you got to do something about that from your purse and the government.
We'll make a note about that. And
you deserve it. You deserve a better internet, sir. Or move to California.
Well, I'm in California a lot, so.
Yeah. Yeah, because your wife is a Californian, right?
We go back and forth. Yep, Dana. Well, I don't know if we want people to know where Fahim lives, but she's in San Clemente.
Hey, Fahim is always talking about where he lives. Fahim is
I'm,
always
I'm one of those. I'm one of those actors. I don't care. They come and shoot me. Shoot me. I've been in a war.
There was a price on his head. I think that's not an issue now, but I hope they've taken that bounty off his head from Afghanistan.
I'm pretty sure it's done now already. But let's focus on, hopefully the government's going to bring these people to this beautiful country.
Yep.
Hopefully the government's going to pay more attention to our veterans, because our veterans done a lot of good job for this country. The reason we're a superpower, the reason we're the most beautiful country in the world, because of Marine, Army, Navy, Air Force, Special Force, and I want to salute them. I want to thank them from the bottom of my heart what they did this. And Michael, thank you for being friend. Still, we're a friend. Let's make our own movie to become. And oh, by the way, our books already is already scripted. We ready for investor. If there any investor watching this movie and this show, please give us a call. We give you the script. Let's make this one movie. The United States of Michael Moffett. Let's see, yeah.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so very much. It's been a lot of fun, and it's also been very enlightening. And I'm very, very grateful for both of your service. Very grateful that you came on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
With it. God bless.
Likewise.
God bless. Take
Bye.
care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Is this a great interview? I loved it, and I hope you did too. So please keep your ear to the ground for this topic and watch the show and contribute to the discussion. Thanks and stuff for that.
Core Stories, Ordinary Marines, Extraordinary Lives.